what is the software architecture that we need to know here? The following general points about the expert system and their architecture have been outlined. What we are talking about, the sequence of steps taking to reach a conclusion. First step here we are talking about the sequence of steps that is taken to reach a conclusion is dynamically synthesized with each new case. Simply here we are talking about changing of a data. It's a real-time system with the real changing of a data based on an environment. So it will be dynamically synthesized with each new case here. And the sequence is not explicitly programmed at the time the system is built. So here we are not talking that sequence are not explicitly programmed at the time the system is built. It will work on changing environment according to learning. So the expert system second step we are talking about here can process the multiple values for any problem parameters. And this permits more than one line of a reasoning to be pursued and the results of an incomplete, not fully determined reasoning to be presented here. So what we are saying that the expert system can process multiple values for any problem parameters. As we have discussed in the fuzzy probabilistic approach also, that they permit more than one line of a reasoning. They basically work on the number of advising, number of multiple values based on what is present as an input. What need to be pursued to find the result and the result of an incomplete, not fully determined reasoning to be presented here. So the problem solving is accomplished by applying specific knowledge. We have talked about this in our definition also, that the specific knowledge related to our domain here. The problem solving is accomplished by applying a specific knowledge rather than a specific technique. This is not based on a specific technique. It is based on a specific knowledge. So this is a key idea in expert system technology. That is a specific knowledge, not a specific technique. So it reflects the belief that the human experts do not process their knowledge differently from others, but they do possess different knowledge. With this philosophy, we are saying that when one finds that their expert system does not produce the desired results, work begin to expand the knowledge base. The data will be extended, the knowledge will get extended based on the new data that is present on the environment, not the reprogram the procedures. So the reasoning is here, right? How to apply a specific knowledge. So this is a software architecture that we need to consider and in experting, and then and these points we need to consider while architecture expert system. So first is the sequence of steps that taken to reach a conclusion that is dynamically synthesized with each new case, and the expert system can process multiple values for any problem parameters. I'm again explaining the participants here. So we were talking about the participants and we were talking about the end users. And here we are talking about the user interface design followed by the expert system. This we were discussing. What we were discussing here, there are two styles of a user interface design followed by an expert system. In the original style of a user interaction, the software takes the end user through an interactive dialogue. And here we are taking an example. In the following example, a backward chaining system seeks to determine a set of restaurants to be recommended. So do you know which restaurant you want to go? This is a simply a interactive dialogue statement. Interaction with the end user. No is the answer here. So different questions are there. Is there any kind of a food you would particularly like? Do you like a spicy food? No. Do you usually drink wine with the meals? Yes. When you drink wine, is it a French wine? Yes. So these are the statements we are talking about, or the dialogue interaction we are talking about with the end user. So then we have talked about the participants. What we have talked about in the participants, they are generally three individuals having an interaction with an expert system. primarily among there is the end user, who is the individual who use the system for its problem solving assistance. And the assistance in the construction and the maintenance of a system, there are two other roles for the construction and the maintenance of a system. First is the problem domain expert who builds the system and supply the knowledge to the knowledge base, and the knowledge engineer who assists the experts in determining the representation of their knowledge, enters this knowledge into an explanation module, and who defines the inference technique also required to solve the problem. So usually the knowledge engineer will represent the problem solving activity in the form of rules. And when these rules are created from a domain expertise, the knowledge base stores the rules of the expert system. So simply in the participants, what we are talking about, the individual, the end user, the expert who is building the system or constructing the system, and then the knowledge engineer who assists the experts. Then the inference tool we are talking about, an understanding of the inference tool consent is important to understand the expert system, how the expert system will work. So an inference tool is a conditional statement with two parts, the if clause and the then clause. And this rule is what gives expert system the ability to find the solution to diagnostic and the prescriptive problems here. So an example here we are talking about, if the restaurant choice includes the French and the occasion is a romantic here, then the restaurant choice is definitely a fallback here. It's just if all these requirements has been fulfilled by a system. So what is the procedure node interface? Another thing in the architecture, we are talking about the procedure node interface. So what do you understand by the procedure node interface? It is a function. When we are talking about interface, it's definitely a function of the procedure node interface is to receive the information from the procedures coordinator and then create the appropriate procedure call. So the ability to call a procedure and receive information from that procedure can be viewed as simply a generalization of the input from the external world. Right? In some expert systems and in some earlier expert systems, external information could only be obtained in a predetermined manner, which only allowed certain information to be acquired. So the knowledge base, this expert system is closed in the cross-referenced applications and can invoke any procedure allowed on its host system. So this makes the expert system useful in much wider class of knowledge domains than if it has no external access or any limited external access is there. So another in the area of a machine diagnostic using expert system, particularly self-diagnostic applications, it is not possible to conclude the current state of a health of a machine, definitely, without some information. If we are not having any information related to a machine, it cannot be predicted or it cannot be concluded the current state of a health of a machine. So the best source of information is the machine itself, for it contains much detailed information that could not reasonably provided by the operator here. So another that we are talking about here, the knowledge that is represented in the system appears in the rule base, and in the rule base described in the cross-reference applications, there are basically 4 types of objects with the associated information. In the rule based only we are talking about what 4 types of objects we are talking about here. First, we are talking about the classes, questions asked to the user, parameters, placeholders for character strings, which may be variable also that can be inserted into a class question. At the point in the question where the parameter is a position, simply as you call a function or as you describe a function, description is there. Procedures, the definition of a calls to the external procedures. That we are talking about the rules node or the rule node, that is the inferences in the system are made by a tree structure which indicates the rules. From a very beginning, we are talking about the rules, which basically indicates the rules or the logic mimicking human reasoning. And the nodes of these trees are called rule nodes, and there are several types of rule nodes we have talked about. So here simply we are also talking about the expert system shell. What we have discussed yesterday in the shell, we have discussed the expert system as a shells also. Shell programming you must have talked about. What is a shell? Simply a software or environment specifically for an expert system which provides an infrastructure and the tools for building and running an expert system. So shell is an infrastructure that provides all the tools that basically used for building and running an expert system, which allow the developers to create AI applications that can mimic the human expertise. So here we are talking about the shell. So shell is here. The expert system shell simplifies the process of creating a knowledge or the infrastructure in the tools. It is the shell that actually processes the information entered by a user, related to its, which relate to its the concepts contained in the knowledge base, and then provide the assessment or the solution for a particular problem. So here, what the expert system shell will do. In the expert, only in the user, in between user and the expert, what is there? The expert system shell, which is further divided into the knowledge equation subsystem, the knowledge-based facts and the heuristics, the inference mechanism reasoning with the uncertainty, the explanation subsystem and the user interface, where the knowledge base, changing of a knowledge base with the help of a facts and the heuristic values, inference mechanisms of a reasoning under the uncertainty will be done by the knowledge engineer. So this diagram can completely, we can say that the combination or the process of creating a knowledge base and the process which is actually processes, the shell is there which basically process the information entered by the user, and it is the work of a shell to relate it to the concepts that are present in the knowledge base and then provide according to that concepts an assessment or a solution for a particular problem for a specific domain for our end user which is requesting by our end user. So what do you mean by the knowledge equation?